Well, it's time now for a business update, beginning as ever by taking a look at how the US markets closed up. A slightly mixed bag with the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones closing just above the flat line. The S&P down almost 0.1%, as you can see there. Now, as for Asia, further significant losses as China continues to grapple with the coronavirus outbreak. The Nikkei trading down 1.7%. The Hang Seng, we'll bring these up for you in just a second. The Hang Seng trading even lower than that. The Kospi, meanwhile, down 1.5%. There you go. And the Shanghai Composite closed today. Neither the EU nor the UK will be banning Huawei from their 5G rollout. In a rare moment of unity, both instead occupied the middle ground, suggesting that any problematic suppliers would be kept away from critical infrastructure. It's a stance likely to frustrate the United States, as Kemi Nedlek now reports.
The door is ajar for Huawei as the EU released new 5G security guidelines that emphasise the need for caution, but stopped short of imposing an outright ban on the controversial telecoms giant.
The guidelines are very strict and rigorous, but they are based only on objective criteria. There is no other ulterior motive. You will never hear us say at the Commission that we are targeting this or that country, this or that company. It's not our role.
The rules call on EU countries to take responsibility for their own cybersecurity. Member states will vet suppliers themselves, apply restrictions to companies that they deem to be high risk, and avoid depending too much on any single one. It's a compromise that was welcomed by Huawei and echoes the UK's own approach. It'll involve Huawei in its 5G rollout, but will exclude it from sensitive functions. But it's a move that angered the United States, which wanted to see Huawei blocked entirely because of concerns over its ties to the Chinese government. That leaves British Prime Minister Boris Johnson walking a thin line.
I think it is absolutely vital that people in this country do have access to the best technology available, but that we also do absolutely nothing to imperil our relationship with the United States, to do anything to compromise our critical national security infrastructure.
On Wednesday, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in the UK, hoping to convince Britain that teaming up with Huawei represents what he describes as a real danger.
US President Donald Trump has signed the US-Mexico-Canada deal, replacing what he described as the nightmare NAFTA Accord of the 1990s. It won't take effect until Canada ratifies it, a process which could take months. Changes include the requirement of higher wages for some Mexican auto workers and a new dispute settlement mechanism for investors. Critics saying it doesn't do enough to address climate change. The US president hailing the deal, however, as a resounding success.
The USMCA is the largest, fairest, most balanced and modern trade agreement ever achieved. This is a colossal victory for our farmers, ranchers, energy workers, factory workers, and American workers in all 50 states. And you could almost say beyond, because it's all beyond. This is all over the world, even though it's at one beautiful border.